mic's on. Just a disclaimer, this is my first time doing a video, so please do give advice on how to make it better. This is from Module 7, about my thoughts from the One Day in March documentary, and about the growing trend of AAPI hate as a whole. I remember first hearing about the attack and wondering why it was not considered a hate crime, despite seemingly so much evidence pointing towards that motive. There were so many things that went wrong that continued a trend of ignoring Asian American issues. From not communicating with survivors due to language barriers, to appointing a sheriff spokesperson with anti Asian sentiments to lead news conferences for a hate crime against Asian Americans. Additionally, the refusal of Cherokee County and the FBI to label the shootings as a hate crime further sets back efforts to tackle AAPI hate, which has been on the rise year after year. Something I remembered briefly from that time was the outrage over Cherokee County Sheriff Captain Jay Baker's words following the shooting, in which he said that the perpetrator had a really bad day, and this was the unfortunate result. I didn't learn this until I watched the documentary and read further into him, but Captain Baker had previously shared anti-Chinese sentiments on Facebook, and many pointed out that he likely sympathized with the perpetrator's actions. The comments alone should have been enough to remove him from a position that served the public, and appointing him as the public spokesperson for a racially motivated attack just was a slap in the face to the victims and their families. What makes this even worse is that this follows a repeated trend of government officials not taking Asian American crimes and violence seriously. The documentary mentioned how other Asian district attorneys from cities that experience AAPI hate had brushed things off, such as in the killing of Visha Rantapakdi in San Francisco, and how their district attorney called it a temper tantrum, or how elected officials such as then President Donald Trump openly compared the coronavirus to, quote, a Chinese gift, contributing to a 339% increase in AAPI hate crimes reported from 2020 to 2021. And that's just in today's modern society, with our updated viewpoints on morals and ethics. If we were to go way back in history, to the Chinese Exclusion Act, Japanese internment, leaving the kids of American GIs back in their home countries to fend for themselves, the trend of not caring about Asian American issues goes on and on. Going further with the increase in AAPI hate crimes reported, this is only the amount of crimes reported, and not the total amount that has occurred. The documentary mentioned that Asian Americans were among the least likely to report hate crimes against them, making the record-setting years even more impactful, as we can only wonder how many more incidents go unreported, unseen, and unheard. I believe this behavior stems from the Blonder hypothesis, specifically how Asian Americans will give up parts of their culture in order to assimilate. But unfortunately, this behavior also perpetuates the model minority stereotype. As Asian Americans, both for new immigrants to the US and descendants of immigrants looking to reconnect with their cultural backgrounds, during their process of integrating into American society, they also tended to stay quiet during moments of racism or violence, in the hopes that not rocking the boat would make them seen as causing less trouble and eventually be able to be seen as fully American. This helped facilitate the harmful model minority stereotype, of which a common notion is that you can make fun of Asian Americans' ethnicities or their cultural backgrounds with few or little repercussions. As evidenced by a rise in Asian American attacks and hate crimes, this method to tackling hate no longer holds up today. Instead, we must speak up about it, call it out when it rears its ugly head, rather than simply letting it fester for the next generation to struggle with. Only then can we ensure a safer, more equal space for not only Asian Americans, but for other marginalized groups whose voices have been silenced for far too long, and ensure that such events like the shootings in March 2021 in Atlanta can never happen again.